Well, I'll at least jump in and kind of go over a couple things, Janae and I, and then we'll pass it over to Emily, and hopefully we'll have the other folks kind of jump in before Emily gets started. For updates with regards to Dewey, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Laura Duncan. I'm president and owner of Gilsley, and I am one of the co-chairs along with Janae, who's with Evergreen of Dewey. And the session today was the idea or mindset, I don't know, it was probably maybe 3, 4 months ago, about how to help women submit more abstracts for presentations at the IDA conferences. And there was, a lot of women who've never presented before and felt that it would be beneficial to have one of our happy hours be a session where we can bring in the masters from IDA to talk about what the process involves, and then also to get information, insight from those whom have had presented at IDA, and just support one another just to help grow the women presenting at the different conferences. We've definitely seen a huge growth pattern, but we want to continue that. So that's how we're here today with regards to this specific topic. From my standpoint, I don't have anything else to contribute updates from Dewey, but I'm going to pass it over to Janae, who is going to talk about LinkedIn and the Dewey page and anything else she wants to talk about. So pass it over to you.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you so much for joining us. As Laura said, I'm co-chair for Dewey right now, which has been great. It was good to be at the last couple conferences and to meet everyone. So thanks for joining us today. And I just wanted to make you aware, if you're not already a member, there is a private LinkedIn group for Dewey. If you go into LinkedIn and search DEWI, the District Energy Women's Initiative and International District Energy Association should be very clearly associated with that. So please join. We'll get you LinkedIn to the LinkedIn. And then we also are just looking for some people who would be interested in being profiled on the page. We haven't done one in a while, and I'm going to reach out to a couple folks and get some profiles up, and just any other questions. It is a good place for conversation. We don't see a lot of that, but it absolutely is open to be used in any way that members see fit. So please join that if you haven't, and reach out if you have any other questions.
Did you have anything else you wanted to share? Any topics, Janae?
No, I'm just excited to hear this conversation. I've presented, I've moderated, I've been on a panel, and I also support when anyone at Evergreen Energy is submitting an abstract. So I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
So I'm going to pass it over to Emily, the presenter guru extraordinaire of IDA, to kind of give the insight behind the stage presentation to you guys about what it entails, and answer any questions that you might have. So I'll pass over to Emily.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Janae. Yeah. As they mentioned, I'm Emily from IDEA. I think I've had some contact with most of you, if not all of you, but thank you for joining today. We're gonna kind of, I guess, go through the behind the curtain, like what happens behind the scenes, and how to get involved. So, Laura had mentioned, kind of brought me up to speed on some of the conversations that have taken place in these groups and how to get more women involved. And I do just want to say right off the bat that we are always looking for more women on the podium. As I'm sure you've seen in our conferences, we're outnumbered, so we're trying to minimize that difference, and we'd love to get more women involved on the podium. So in terms of speaking or moderating, so I'll start with that. Moderating is a really great way to kind of get your feet wet with what it looks like from being on that side of the stage. So, and we're always looking for female moderators or just moderators in general. So if any of you are interested, please reach out to me directly. I kind of keep an ongoing list of people who've touched base or, contacted me about moderating, people who are interested. And as we get closer to the conference, I'll pull from that list and reach out to people and see if they're still interested. So if it's something that you're considering, you're not quite ready to jump up there and present on anything, if you want to just kind of take a little baby step, that's a really good way to kind of get a feel for it. So I wanted to throw that out there firsthand. So if anyone's interested in that, please reach out to me. And I guess I'll start. I'll start with the process a little. I guess I'll give a quick overview of kind of what that looks like. In case everyone's not aware, we send out a call for presentations months in advance of the conference. We've already sent out the campus call for presentations. A few months ago, I think at this point, they have a relatively early deadline so that we can do all the things we need to do on the back end to get everything lined up, much in advance of the conference so that we can post the program and use the program and in marketing and generating attendance. So we can say, we can point to it and say, look at all these great presentations that are going to be here. You don't want to miss it, right? So we're trying to do that earlier and earlier so that we can get folks as excited about the program as we are on the back end. So that usually goes out almost a year in advance. And for the upcoming campus conference in February, that deadline is August 1st. So it's coming up, in a few weeks. If anyone hasn't received that, doesn't know where to look, please reach out to any of us on the IDEA team. We can get you all the links and all the direct information on where to go. I can also put that in the chat once I'm done talking, because I can't do two things at once. So once I'm done talking, I'll throw all those links in the chat, or maybe we can circulate it. I don't know if Laura, if you do like a follow-up email, but I'm happy to include whatever links we want to make it easy for people to get to. And I'll share my screen really quickly. We'll look at the call for presentations that went out for campus already, if you haven't seen. So this is kind of the first step that happens. We'll send this out. We post it on our website. We kind of circulate it to all the people on all of our mailing lists. I'm sure most of you have seen Jason Beal's name 1 bajillion times more than you would like to, but he'll send out the call for papers to all of the people that have presented before. Anybody in our list, this will go out to. And it kind of gives a brief overview of what we're looking for, what the conference will focus on. And usually that's whatever the biggest topics that are happening in the industry right now. That's kind of what we're looking for in terms of topics. But as you can see, there's a number of suggested presentation topics that you could choose from, and kind of just gives again a brief overview of the conference and kind of what to look for, in what we're looking for in terms of content. So this will go out to everyone, and then the process has changed a little bit, but the general process is through do I have it actually open? Let's see. I can walk through. Let me just share my whole screen. I have too many screens open and never do this correctly. So let me look. Here we go. There we go. Hopefully you're seeing the actual Campus Energy 2025 call for presentations. Okay, great. So this is what the submission process actually looks like. And I'll say it here for the few that are on the call. It's changed a little bit from last time, and it will be different next time because we are right in the middle of switching platforms. So this is kind of an interim, basically a Google form to fill out with all the information that we're looking for. So, but it's a pretty straightforward process. We give the description of everything that we're looking for, and I'll kind of just run through what it would look like if you were submitting. So, we look for obviously your contact information, your presenter details, and then, company title, how to contact you, all the contact information. And in the next segment or somewhere in the process, we ask if you're presenting with anyone else and what their contact information is. obviously, so that we can contact you if you're, selected to present. And at some point, we ask for the actual abstract content. So this is probably where a lot of people get hung up or have questions. We're seeing a lot of questions this year on like what makes a good abstract. And one of the things that that we specifically look for, one of the first things, if the abstract has a case study, and what we mean by that is it based on a real world project? We're looking for abstracts that are that have some kind of outlined, identified problem or issue or like goal, and kind of the outcome of that, lessons learned, how you got there. These are the kinds of things that we look for in an abstract, and to ensure that we're looking at presentations that are going to be informative and not so much salesy. That is the purpose of the case study. We look for projects that are in process or took place somewhere, something that you can actually point to that's not just a sales pitch of whatever whatever you're selling, whatever you're looking to do. Like, of course, there's a lot of that in the industry, but we're looking for more actual project-based content, not product-based. And Jason has a really good saying. It's show us what. Jason, are you listening? Can you remind me? It's like, show us what you do, not tell us who you are.
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
Today, I'm playing Molly and Lila's dad, so I can fit into the theme of the meeting. But
yeah.
I try to tell people, like, really kind of show us what you're doing or have done, and don't tell us what you do. I think that's really key. Like, well, and we can kind of see it as it comes in, that we will get abstracts that are just essentially like, hey, my product does this, and it doesn't talk about, like, okay, and to a point, some people that does make sense, but you have to really kind of tie it into like a real case study, a real problem, a solution. It's always great to talk about, I think, problems, solutions, challenges, how you face them. I think those are really key. If you just tell me, hey, I've got this great pipe that'll work awesome for you, that's I think a lot of our attendees would be like, yeah, that's not really helpful.
Yeah, we want to know how or why, like, that's great to say those sales statements. And if there's a project, that you can back that up with, of course, that's what we're looking for. So
yeah, you kind of want your project to speak for you. And I think that is kind of the best advice. That's maybe the best advice I've given to anybody who's submitting an abstract. Other than that, it's all terrible advice, but that's about it.
Other than that, don't listen to Jason, but
exactly.
that particular topic.
Emily knows it too well.
No, he coined that a couple of conferences ago, and I think it's really helpful as a one-liner when you're putting these together. If you remember that, I think it's really helpful to drive your submission in the right direction. And there sometimes we'll see abstracts come in and it seems like it could be good, but maybe it's a little jumbled. So we'll reach out for clarification if it's something that maybe seems like it was their first time submitting and they weren't really sure exactly what we were looking for, but there's good content in there. We will reach out for additional information. But for campus, I will say we get so many abstracts for limited spots. So the more concise and clear you can be, the better. It's already a process for us to kind of filter through all of them, look at all of them, read them all, make sure they all have the things that we're looking for. So if you can be as clear as possible on what you're presenting, like what the problem was, how you got to the solution, and any lessons learned, like that progression of information, if you can capture that in the small abstracts, that really gets our attention. That's a really good abstract submission. Of course, like not, we will do some work with you to get that out of the submission if it seems like it's really good content and really relevant to to the audience, to the industry, to what we're talking about. We will do a little bit of extra digging, but if you can prevent that, that's great. And I think so this form, it's a relatively short description that we're looking for in the abstract. And I think some people get kind of hung up on if you need to have your presentation put together at this point, and that is like far from true. This is kind of the very first, like kind of an intro to a book. Like, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to talk about. Putting the presentation together comes, way later. And we've seen people submit abstracts on projects that are not done, that are, kind of in the works, with the hope that it will be done by the time the conference rolls around, or even if not, there are still some ways you can work with that to give a solid presentation, even if you don't have the final, details. So keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be a concrete finished project. It can be early stages. You can talk about what you're hoping to accomplish, and what techniques you're using to get to the goals that you're hoping to reach. So keep that in mind. It's like a very the abstract submission process is like, it's very early a lot of times. It has some wiggle room with in terms of where you're at in the project and in the timeline. And the other thing that we look for here is, obviously the topic. So we ask you to kind of self-identify what main group, that it fits in. And of course, it doesn't have to fit in any one of these very specifically. If it kind of touches on it, we will also look at that as we're going through and selecting abstracts. Like, is this actually the topic that was selected? So if you try to get as close to possible, that's great. Again, if it kind of develops along the way, as it gets posted and repurposed on our learning management site, if the topic needs to be adjusted down the line, like that's something that we can certainly handle. But some of them, you'll see kind of over and over again. There's some common themes that carry from conference to conference. So you'll see a couple new topics, like for this last conference, U10s was a big one that came up. So there was a topic in there for that. But you'll see like a lot of the same topics kind of appear. It's the kind of common themes for our industry. So we ask for that from you. The presentation summary is the actual description, your abstract. This is what we mostly look at. And then again, the case study is what's the real world example that this presentation is going to be based on.
Emily, can
So
I
that's kind of,
ask a quick
yeah.
question? Because is that a typo in there where it's saying 750 words?
I think it's actually 750
75.
characters.
It is, yeah. I
Oh,
already
characters?
filled it's characters. I filled
Okay.
this out
Characters.
and had to keep removing words because
Yeah. Well, I'll see if I can get that updated. Yeah,
Okay, got
it's
it. Thanks.
characters,
Okay.
and it will cut off. So that's a good note. It will cut you off, and it won't submit. It won't submit anything past that. So we'll see if we can get that updated to actually be 750 characters, or I'll kind of see how many words that. Well, we'll see. I'll try to fix that so it's accurate as what we're looking for, but it's actually characters. So that's what the submission process looks like. And I guess I'll pause there before I go into, what happens next. I'll pause there to kind of take questions and see, what people are thinking about that. Is there any clarification we needed, or so I'll stop talking.
I was just going to add that sometimes if you are going to co-present with a university, they, sometimes there's limitations on the university's funds with regards to attending conferences, and that they don't know if the university is going to have money to actually send the person. I would say, and you can, uh, fill in more, Emily, but that you should still submit your abstract with that individual. And if for some reason, they're unable to attend, then, the work with the IDA team as to what needs to be done to make any adjustments. But that shouldn't be a holdup or prevent you from actually submitting, because the submittals are due so soon, and the budget, the conference isn't for later, that, it's just best to go ahead and at least get your information submitted and then work with the crew.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and kind of goes both ways. If you don't know who you're submitting with, it's best, or if you're not sure who that person will be, like she said, submit your information. If you think and then it ends up changing, some of them don't come, or it changes people, submit it anyway. Submit it with whatever information you have at the time of submission. Once you're accepted and in the program working with the IDEA team, we have all the flexibility to add co-presenters, change co-presenters, and we see a lot of that. As we get closer to the conference, people's travel changes, and someone's not going to make it, and someone had a kid, or whatever. So with as much information as you have at the time of submission, submit all of that, and we can work with it from that point. But you want to try to get it in before the deadline. We're seeing so many more abstracts than we have room for, so we do end up cutting it off. I know in years past, like when I first started with IDEA, the deadline was like a soft deadline. It kind of stayed open, and we had like more time and more flexibility, but we don't really have that flexibility so much anymore as we're growing, and our program, we're taking over as much hotel space as we can get. So our program is, limited to the space that we have, and how we can cut that up to make the most room for the most amount of content. So we do shut it down and close it off. With whatever information you have at the time, submit that, and we can work with the changes as we get closer to the conference.
And I would add, right, like you get a lot of submissions, which is fantastic. There's a lot of information and content out there. But for a lot of the presentations that are not selected just due to time and availability, you guys enroll that into the poster, right? That's where you're getting your poster submissions, are essentially, additional presentations and an opportunity to put your information forward in front of everybody. So not to let it be like, oh, okay, well, you already have enough. No, we want to encourage as many women to participate. And, if for some reason presentation isn't selected, your information is valuable. It will be put up there to share for all the attendees at the conference.
Yeah, so that's kind of the next step of the process. We'll go through all the presentations that we receive, and the committee will select. It's a, an iterative process. We'll go through and kind of rate them. So like all the great, they get scored basically. And if there's not room for all of the ones that scored a passing grade, or whatever, however it is, we kind of go through it again to see which are better suited for posters, which fit the program best. So there's options for getting your content in front of our audience, even if it doesn't make the main program. More content's more applicable for that. Can you guys hear me, or am I losing you? Tanya,
You were going in and out a little bit, but
yeah, Let me shut this off. My am I all right, am I better? Am I frozen or are you frozen?
No,
Okay.
we're good for the moment.
Okay,
Come
good.
back.
Sorry about that. Sometimes when I'm connected to our external thing, it slows my connection down. So I just cut that off. Hopefully, that's a little bit better. But what I was saying, and then I'll repeat just briefly, but there's options for you to get your content in front of our audience, even if it's not selected for the main program. There's poster options, as Laura mentioned, and then sometimes there's workshop, depending on how the workshop or pre-conference symposium has been put together. There's room there for abstracts as well, if it's not a full kind of curated content. But we do get some folks who are not entirely ready to take the podium and would prefer a poster spot. So if that's something that you're interested in, make a note of that in your abstract. And we did get a couple of those each time, like somebody who would rather present in a poster location. And what that looks like, if you've been to the conference, you've probably seen, like, we have kind of our poster hall, excuse me, somewhere around exhibit registration, kind of wherever we can fit it in our footprint. And it looks different depending on, each presentation. Sometimes it's one big, printed sheet that takes up the whole poster. Sometimes it is, kind of small printouts of a PowerPoint presentation that people can kind of follow in sequence. We have specific times carved out of the program to visit with the poster presenters. We usually push that through on our mobile app to encourage engagement with the poster presenters and encourage the actual poster speakers to be there during those times so that folks can talk directly to them. And sometimes it gives you a little bit more like one-on-one direct contact with your audience. So something to keep in mind: if the podium seems intimidating, this might be another kind of baby step towards getting there. If that's, something of interest, just make note of that somewhere in your abstract and we'll see that. Any other questions before I'll touch on what it kind of looks like after you get accepted, but if there's no other questions, Janae?
Yeah, I have two questions. One, how important is a catchy title?
Not important, really. The title is for us, like for the review process, not as important. For the program, like, and for catching the eyes of the audience, a little bit more important.
Yeah.
But for the review process, it's not really what we're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my second question is, I know, like, when I look at that list of kind of topics, a few things we've done from our company are more on the kind of enterprise services area, so customer service and sales, and which is sometimes more appropriate for the annual conference.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to see how you're feeling with all the abstracts you're getting, if more diversity, like less technical, more diversity in presentations is favorable, or if sticking with those categories is the best approach.
That's a really good question. And my answer is not helpful because it depends. I think, like, I think seeing a wider diversity, I think, is actually great in our industry and kind of where it's moving. So, what ends up happening so far, what I've seen, is that there's usually kind of an outlier. There's like one or two that are kind of, as you said, like customer focused, or kind of recruiting focused. We get a few of those, but not a significant number. So it's hard to build program tracks around one presentation. it would be good to see more of that so that we actually could focus a little bit more on that and actually get that content to the attendees, you know, because I do think it's shifting. There are different concerns these days. So I think, you know, that's a difficult one to answer directly, but
Yeah.
we do want to see, you know, we do want to see that. I think people want to hear about it. So, you know, the more that we get on those topics that are not necessarily just from that list, the more we can actually start including them in the program.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Carol, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I thought the financial track with KPMG in Orlando was fantastic, and it was a pretty full room. And so that's pretty much around the ITC and the IIJA on funding. So there was a lot of interest there. So I thought that was a really important takeaway.
That's really great feedback. And it was kind of that was kind of a curated, last minute, someone brought to our attention that this was kind of like missing from the program, or, you know, they wanted to talk about it. So that track actually ended up being kind of pulled together late in the game. And so that's really great feedback to hear, and something we've been talking about already internally about where to make room for that conversation as we move forward. So I don't know. Oops, sorry. I don't know if we have that topic. If it made it into the list when we set this up, it doesn't look like it did necessarily. But oh yeah, that we do have like a finance strategies. It's not, I mean, that kind of fits that, but it is something that I think is going to be a little bit more of a popular topic. So if that's something that you have information on, feel free to submit in that finance topic, or there's an other selection that that doesn't you know, that encompasses anything that's not on our list. And if you do have suggestions for topics that are very relevant and not on our list already, please feel free to send those our way as well. That's kind of an ever-changing list. Each conference we kind of go through that and see what, you know, see where we're at, what things make sense, what are people talking about, what are we hoping to talk about at the conference. So if you have suggestions for what should be included, if they're not already there, please feel free to send them my way as well.
Good, thank you.
Of course. And then real quick, I'll just go through, I want to leave time for people to chat, but I'll run through kind of what it looks like once your abstract is submitted. You know, after the deadline, the committee gets together, reviews them all, and then you'll hear from us, you know, that your abstract was selected, and we'd love for you to be part of the program. And what happens at that point is typically Jason will send a contract out to everybody who was accepted, and what that looks like is something like this. Okay. Tanya, would you possibly be able to screen share? Oh no, there it goes. I think because I disconnected from our server. Sorry, technical issues. So what happens is Jason will send out our speaker contract, and basically what this means is you sign this indicating to us that you agree to present and kind of follow these rules. And it outlines the deadlines that you need to be aware of, and what you need to do as a speaker from that point forward. So submitting your presentation, registering for the conference. All of our speakers have to register and pay, and there's a discounted rate for speakers that is automatically applied during the registration process when you select, yes, you are a speaker. And I don't want to say, I can't remember exactly how much. It's typically a couple $100, Tanya, do you remember, off of the regular registration rate?
I think it's 200.
Okay.
200.
Yeah, it's 200.
Okay, thank you. So it's that's like pretty consistent off our regular rate. So you receive that discounted rate. This will give you all the deadlines, as I said, and just kind of some general guidelines for your for what we're looking for, like what happens, what we do with the content that we've received from you. And I'll just quick note on that: when we receive your PowerPoint presentation at that deadline, it gets reviewed by a committee here just to make sure that there's no weird formatting things, or to make sure that it is not a super sales pitch. So it does actually go through a review process, which is why the deadlines are, again, early, because it takes time to sort through all of those and go through all those and send back for edits if needed, and get those back and review again. So just keep that in mind. We will actually look through it once it comes in. And as of COVID, we also require the speakers to submit a video presentation. So what that typically looks like is a Zoom call or something, Teams, whatever, where you basically are giving your presentation with your face, like on Zoom, like we are here, and it's recorded, and you send that to us, and we have migrated to a learning management system, and are continuing that migration. So all of those presentations for the conference are hosted on the LMS, so that people who were in attendance at the conference and maybe weren't able to view your presentation on site can go back and see it after, because as you know, we have 5 tracks going at the same time. So a lot of times, so people can't be in 5 places at once. So this gives this gives the ability for more eyeballs to be on your presentation, on your content. So that's the reason that we ask for that. And we get some questions about that as as speakers are going through the process, like, is this necessary? Those kinds of things. And kind of, yeah. It's part of agreeing to speak at our conference. It means you give a live presentation and you give a video presentation, and that video is only viewable to people who attended the conference on our LMS. So it's not publicly available. People have to pay for it. So you're not kind of giving away information for free. So just know that has been a recent requirement in recent years, since we did the virtual conferences during COVID, that none of us want to relive. But so again, this is the first piece of information that Jason will send to you. It gives you some just regular straight guidance. And then as we move along through the conference preparation, we will usually put together a website that has some of that information, as well as additional guidelines, like what's expected of you once we're on site, the kind of room logistics, some kind of a cheat sheet for posting your participation on social media, and then all kinds of information that you need for your video, for your PowerPoint. This will all be sent to you, like, as we are planning as you've agreed to accept, as we're planning the program and planning the conference. Jason will be in contact with you a lot, so that you have all the information that you need to make your presentation as smooth and easy as possible. So I know I just dumped a lot of stuff at you, and I wanted to leave some questions, or leave some time, I guess, for questions from the audience, or for Tanya, Jason to chime in if I missed anything or went over anything too fast. I'm going to stop talking now so that someone else can.
I was going to add a couple things. One is I like the fact that you guys are doing or requiring the recording, because it's a great opportunity to kind of do a trial run of your presentation, especially if you are co-presenting, so you can work out the kinks and whatnot. So it actually look at it as an asset, not an extra thing you have to do. And then a lot of times people don't realize that you guys have a PowerPoint presentation preset slides that you provide, so that the presentation can basically be built into your existing PowerPoint. If if you already have one, or you've kind of done the presentation some other time, you can incorporate your existing presentation template into the IDA template. But they've really like made it super easy for you to be able to, take it from the abstract all the way to the completion. And, the support is there, the information's there, the easy click buttons are there. And so it really is not a difficult process whatsoever. And that we really encourage, everybody to get up there and share the knowledge. We all have important information to share with one another.
Thank you for saying that, Laura. We are trying to make it as kind of drag and drop, kind of copy paste easy as possible, so that you can really focus on the content that you're presenting and leave all the logistic things to us. So we've got links to all these things on the website, on the speaker resources page that's created specifically for, obviously the speakers in the program. So hopefully it makes it easy to go to one place and find all the stuff that you need to pull it all together. And we do look at when we're running through all of the abstracts, obviously content is the number one thing that we're looking at, but with so many great submissions, there's other layers of review, right? So we do look to see if there's women presenters. We do look to see if they're member companies. We do look to see if there is campus associated, there are like additional levels of review that happen because we get so many. So do submit it, even if it's your first time and you feel weird about it, or if it doesn't read the way you want, submit it and then check in with us, because it's a very personal process. It's us that's doing it, like it's our group, us, hopefully, you've worked with us before. So we're a pretty flexible, easygoing, a group. And if there are things that you have questions on, or you want to check on if you did it right, or if that's kind of what we're looking for, we are here as a resource for you, and want you to submit what you're working on, and we want to hear what you're working on. So feel free to reach out to us directly if you get to this point and you're like, no, I forgot, I don't remember what to do. So we're here as a resource for you, and to get you in the program.
Does anybody have any questions, or does anybody want to share, if you presented before, share some things that you learned, or some ideas, lessons learned from creating an abstract that anybody wants to talk about?
I guess that would probably be me, since I've probably spoken the most and moderated the most. Well, I'm not sure, but I've really found the moderating to be very fun, and it started during COVID when I was helping with the microgrid breakout session on the Mondays, and then it morphed into running some different tracks. And then I've spoken several times. The new recording really intimidated me last year, but then it turned out to be such a gift, because I was so much better prepared for my presentation because I had done that recording several times over. I don't know how to stop and start again, so I'd like start from the very beginning. But anyway, yes, it's so valuable, and it just ups your game so much more, that people are seeing you, and your professional presentation, and it's just an opportunity. So I would definitely capitalize on it.
Yeah, I know for me personally, like, unless I'm forced to practice something ahead of time, it's probably not going to happen. I'm like very much a wing it kind of person, which you know, when giving a presentation, that sometimes doesn't go so well. So I think that is like a really good, you know, forced practice.
And just another thing, like before working with DOE, it was really hard to ever get a slot or like CHPA or whatever. So this truly is an opportunity that we're offering to the women in our group, because it is hard to get on that podium in other organizations.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say we're hoping to give you like a couple steps up already there, you know. We want to see more women on the podium.
And I would say that, you know, myself, Janae, even Carol, who's on the board, as well as Emily, Tanya, everybody is here to support one another. This is about uplifting everybody. So if you're struggling with trying to come up with a topic or you know, trying to find a co-presenter, we're all here to help. You know, you want to bounce ideas, try to help with brainstorming. You know, we're all here to help one another. So, you know, feel free to lean upon any of us to get you up on the podium, or, you know, one step closer if you just want to moderate or, you know, do a poster presentation. You know, any more visibility is going to be helpful for you and share your knowledge. So, yeah. Anybody have any other comments, ideas, suggestions? Okay. Well, if we can chat if anybody just wanted to chat, or you can, you know, jump off early. Certainly, I want to thank Emily for joining us and sharing all this back door and behind the curtain information. I actually learned some stuff, and I felt it was really informative. I really appreciate it, Emily, for sharing your time with us today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm
Yeah.
happy to help out. And again, I'll provide Laura, I don't know if you usually send like a follow-up email, but I can send you the links directly because I think the chat disappears once we close the meeting. But I can send you the links for the campus call for presentation, so people have that and can access that. And again, that deadline is August 1st. So it's coming up, but we still have some time.
Yeah.